Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm with WeVideo, and today we'll be showing you a few tips on how to get started with your account. We'll begin with a quick account overview, and then we'll move into some of the cool features available that you can use.
Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So when you log into your WeVideo account, this is what you're going to see. This is the home screen. It's called the dashboard. Basically, once you log into here, you're going to notice a few things. The recent edits is going to be some thumbnails of projects that you're currently working on. So anything that you've recently opened or created will have easy access right from the dashboard, and you can hover over it to easily edit it and go right into the editor. And any time that you create something, you will have the option of renaming it and deleting it from the dashboard. So up here, this is ways for creating new content. So here it's content to access that you've already created, and then here is to create new content. So anytime you want to create a new video, you would click create new video, and we've actually recently added a recording feature where you can easily access the recording tools and create right into a recording. But here's the templates you can choose from. And so basically the dashboard, that's just a great way. That's right when you log in. It's an easy way for you to access all of your content. Now, one thing I'm going to touch on next is the manage account button. So this is the account settings page. What you want to know about that, the most important part is this connected apps section. This is where you're going to be connecting to external sources such as Google Drive, YouTube, Dropbox, OneDrive. And basically it's where you would connect and sign into your account, and that would allow you to either import media from those accounts or export to those accounts. And whenever you want to export content, in the Finish tab there will also be a section to sign into your account there. But this is just one central location where you can easily sign into all of your accounts, and the connected apps is just the best spot to do that. It's really convenient. And of course you can also click this blue pencil icon to modify any account information. If you are integrated with login with Google, then it will just be connected to your Google account, so you won't be able to modify that, but you can always contact us on the support team and we can update your login method if you want. But this is where you would modify your account information. So that's the dashboard and account settings. That's just a really basic start. So when you log in, this is what you see. Now, next up, what we're going to do is cover projects. And projects is really the secret sauce to collaboration. There's 3 different project types, and each project type has its own use case. So when you want to create a new project, you're going to select this blue plus icon at the bottom right, and you'll notice these 3 different project types. Each one is useful in its own way. So if you're creating content that isn't really necessarily something you want to collaborate on with others on, and you're just creating your own video. So for example, if you're a teacher and you're creating an assignment instructional video, personal project would be great because it doesn't really have any collaboration tools, but you might not need them. Now, collaborative and shared projects, these are very useful if you do want users such as students or other teachers to work together. So the difference between collaborative and shared is what the users in the project view on their end. So for example, with the collaborative project, everybody has access to everybody's content. Whereas with a shared project, users can only see their own content. Just as an example, this is what it looks like inside of a collaborative project from the teacher's perspective. So as you can see, I have different edits created by different accounts, and here's a student 1 account, student 2 account, teacher account. So this is the perspective of both the teacher and the student. So I'm going to quickly switch over to the student's perspective just so you can see that it's the same. So regardless of whether I'm a student or a teacher, I'm going to be seeing the same content, and that means that I have access to everybody's edits. Now, if I'm going to be creating a shared project, that's going to be different because from the teacher's point of view, I still see everything just like I do with the collaborative project. But what's different is what the perspective of the student is. So this is what the teacher sees. Now with a shared project, this is what a student would see. So they would only see content that they create, and that applies to edits that they're working on and finished videos. So when you go back to the teacher's perspective, you can see here that the edits tab is going to be showing you all the content that your students are currently working on that's not yet finished, and exports is going to be the home base for all of their finished videos. So anytime a student finishes a video, it'll be found in the exports tab, and with a shared project, they will only see their own finished videos. Whereas with a collaborative project, everybody can see everybody's content. Now what the project media folder is, this is a way for you to have a centralized location for media for a project. So let's say you want students to all work on their own versions of a video, but you want them to use the same media folder. So what you can do is create a project so that in the project media, you put all the same media into there, and then they all have access to it if they're in that project. And linked resources, that's just a helpful way for you to integrate Google Docs or Google PowerPoint. So if you want to have instructions tied to a specific project, that's what the linked resources is. And members is just a way for you to see who is currently inside of this project. So just a quick recap of what projects are. This is just how you're going to modify the kind of collaboration tools you want available per project. And the 3 project types are personal, collaborative, and shared. Next up, we're going to cover the media tab. This is where you're going to be storing all of the content that you import. So when you want to import content, you select this blue plus icon at the bottom right, and you'll notice a pop-up. The pop-up is just basically how you can choose where you're importing your content from. So if you want to import from your device, you would just click browse to select, and then it would prompt you to choose content from your device, your computer. Now if you want to connect from an external source and import, let's say from Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive, you can select these icons over here at the bottom, and then basically it would just prompt you to sign into your account, and then you would pull data from those accounts and it will go directly into your media folder. And then once you import content, it'll be found right over here. And just really quickly, does anybody have any questions on the dashboard or projects or media from what I've covered so far? You can say it in the chat if you do have questions. I see there's some chat. Doesn't seem like there's any questions about that. Okay, great. So
there was one question that I noticed around which account version do you need to be on in order to see projects?
Oh yeah, so if you're on, for example, let's say just a personal free plan, that one is not tied to any organization, so there are no collaboration tools. But let's say you're on a teacher trial or the WeVideo for Schools plan, then you're going to be in the organization that has access to other users within the organization, and that's how you can create a project when you can collaborate with other users within the same organization. One final aspect of the media tab that is pretty useful as well is the Share with Everyone tab. This is a tab that you can either disable or enable based on users, but pretty much it's just a tab in the media folder where you can add content to it, and then everybody in your organization would be able to access that content. So it's similar to the project media tab of a project, only it's not tied to a project, it's for anyone in your organization. So let's say you want the whole school to have access to media, you can add it to the Shared with Everyone tab, and then everybody can use that. So next up is the Exports tab. Whenever you're done with the video and you finish it, this is where it's going to be found. And what an export looks like is something like this, where you have the video and then some information about it below. This is just details about how long it is, the resolution, and these icons are just additional things you can do to that video. So for example, any export, you can share it to Google Classroom. You can modify its name and description, change the thumbnail, and also change the privacy. Changing the privacy is useful because let's say you want to provide this export link at the top to a user that does not have a WeVideo account. If you change the privacy to public, then anybody with the link can access it. Whereas if it's private, only you can access the link when signed into your account. And then download is for you to download the video to your device. So let's say you want to have it as an actual file on your computer, you can click this download button and it'll save to your device. Next up, I'm going to briefly cover the admin tab. Depending on the role that you have in your organization, you may or may not have this admin tab. The different roles would include admin, teacher, and student. The admin would have the admin tab, whereas the teacher, instead of the admin tab, would have a group tab, and a student would just have only the first 4. So depending on the role you have, that'll change up what kind of tabs you have at the top. The first 4 are always going to be the same. What's going to be different is whether you'll have the admin tab or not. But the admin tab is just the console for where you're going to be modifying your licenses and all the users in your organization. So for example, the admin members tab, this is where you're going to see all the people that are currently inside the organization. As you can see, it's organized by name, email, their join date, how much storage they're using. And what you can do is click into a profile to view some of their projects or finished videos and just get an idea of what their account is. So the admin members tab is just a way for you to really manage all of your users and licenses, and of course add more or remove if you need to. So we have these filter and sort options where you can organize based on specific criteria or sort it, and it's really easy to modify users in bulk too. You can click multiple at the same time or all at once. But in terms of adding users, you would click add members, and there's 5 different ways. Invite code and registration link are very helpful if you want to just do one at a time. And then sync with Google, Office 365, or import from CSV. These are bulk adding methods for adding a lot of users if you have thousands or more. But all methods are great. It just kind of depends on your use case and what's most convenient for you. And I won't touch into too many details about what each of these entails, but we do have a lot of resources that we provide, especially people with the admin role, in terms of how to use each of these features. And if anything that I cover over this webinar is something I move too fast over, or if you have any questions, you can mention it in the chat box, or you can always feel free to reach out to us at support@wevideo.com. I'm on the support team, so I can help you out. And we can point you to all the different resources available. So if you come across something on the webinar you're not sure about, just write it down and then we can help you out with that. So the next aspect of the admin tab is the settings tab. This is where you can modify the permissions based on your users. So for example, if you want students to not be able to import media from, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, you can have that disabled, whereas for the admin, you can have it enabled. And the different permissions include changing the privacy of a video, the ability to share, the ability to create a project. So it's a lot of different permissions, and you can really customize your organization to have it have the exact kind of permissions you want based on the role. And the final aspect I'll touch of the admin tab is the groups. So this is where you can organize, for example, let's say you have a big district account and you want to organize by school or by classroom. Or if you're in a small classroom and you want to organize based on specific students or projects. So groups is a way to organize, and it allows you to add users into a group and create projects assigned to that group. So it's just an added way to customize how you create projects and how you have all your users organize their content. And it's a spot to easily see projects and exports as well. Do we have any questions about any of the basic administrative or account overview stuff before I go into the actual editor? Check out the chat box just to see. Lucy, your question about collaboration between organizations. So at this time, you can only collaborate between users within an organization. I don't know about in the future whether we'll allow cross-organization collaboration, but at this time it is restricted to users within the same organization. All right, now we're going to jump into the editor. So I have a few topics I want to cover that include tips and tricks to help you get started. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you how to create a new video just from scratch, and show you just what the editor looks like, and then we'll dive into some cool features. So if you want to create a new video, select create new video, and then once it goes into the editor, just give it one moment. Sometimes Wi-Fi is not my friend. Okay, there we go. So once you get into the editor, it's going to ask you to save it into a specific project, so you can choose. I'm just going to go with this one right here. Start editing. So when you log into the editor, you're going to notice 3 main sections that stand out. So the bottom, this is called the timeline. Anytime you're going to be creating content and adding a video, picture, text clip, effect, audio, that's all going to be found here. So as you can see, there's a video 2, video 1, and audio 1 track. These are how you're going to organize the different layers in your video. So anytime you're adding content, you're going to drag it and drop it into the timeline. The top right section, this is the preview. Whenever you want to preview, whether it's a media clip, in the Essentials library, your media, transition text clip, you can preview that here. So for example, if I want to preview the clip before I add it in, I can click on it and it'll show me it. Now over here, the top left, this is a really important section of the editor. This is where you're going to find all of your content. So as you can see, there's different tabs here. Each of these tabs is just different types of content that you can add to your video. So the first tab, when you open it up, this is the stock media. This gives you access to our essentials library. So on the school plan, you have, what's up? We have some questions.
Someone's having a good time.
All right, anyways, so when you are in the essentials library stock media tab, this is going to give you access to 1 million media clips of stock footage with pictures, audio, and video. And you can search up a lot of different search criteria. So for example, if you search up nature, you'll see a lot of different clips. And there's very many options that you can choose from. But basically, anytime you want to use any of this content, it's a really simple drag and drop. So you would just click it and drag it into your video track. Now, anytime you want to import your own content and use your own content, which you definitely will at some point, that'll be found in the My Media tab. So when we were in the Media tab over here earlier in this webinar, this is going to be the same Media tab as that one over here. The only difference is it's easily accessible within the editor, so you don't have to go back between tabs. So anytime you want to add content from your Media tab, it's the same concept as adding from the Essentials library. You just click it and you drag it in. And whether it's a picture or video, it's going to be applied the same way. You just drag it in. And over here, this import icon allows you to also within the editor import content. So that same pop-up that was in the Media tab is going to be available within the editor for you to drag and drop. So once you import it, it'll be found right here, and then you would just drag it and drop it into the timeline, just like any other media clip. Over here, this is the text clip, the text section. So basically the text section, this is where we have motion titles, which are captions with pre-made animations. So essentially it's a text that you can use that has a preset animation that you don't have to modify. You can just use it as is with your own text. So for example, let's say you want to use this one. You can preview it, say that's the one you want, and you drag it in, and that's it, and you're good to go. So it'll just pop up and the animation is there and it's ready. And of course, when you want to add your own content or your own caption to this clip, you just double click into it and the properties tab comes up. And here's where you can change the color palette, the font, of course the wording, whatever you want to add. And you can also reposition it. So let's say you want to change its scale or you want to move it on the screen. You can really easily reposition. And if you have multiple clips that you want to have at exact positions, you can use XY coordinates, and then you can jot those down so that you can have your clip be at the same exact position. So that's, for example, let's say you have at the top right a logo you want to use, but you switch up the logo throughout the video, then you can have it at X and Y coordinates so that it's always in the same position. You can also flip and rotate. And then you click Save Changes and it saves. So we have different types of text too. We have motion titles, we have static, which is no movement, it just stands there. We have in season, which is depending on the time of year. You'll see different motion titles that are irrelevant, and then callouts as well. This next tab is the audio tab. This is where we offer some music and sound effects that you can use. Anytime you want to use one, you just click it, drag it into the audio tab. And the sound effects are organized by folders, so you can go into the animals one or into the nature one, people, and there's different options to select. The transitions tab, this is where you can add really cool effects in between media clips. So for example, if you want to add a crossfade, you would just click it, preview it to determine that's the one you want, and then drag it in between the clips. Now one key difference between transitions and media clips is when you add it to the timeline, it's going to be red unless you attach it to a clip. Because this is a transition, it's an effect that you apply to a clip, so it's only going to be green if you attach it to an existing clip. So for example, you can put a transition at the beginning or at the end of a clip or connecting two clips, but you can't put it as a standalone piece because it's not an actual file. It's something that you attach to an existing file. So this transition, when we apply it here, will look something like this. So as you can see, it's a nice clean fade transition. And there's a lot of different options. Some of them have more animations than others. For example, this one's a paper plane. Students like ones that have a lot of animations once in a while. Curtains, 3D effects as well. And also we offer backgrounds too, which is if you want to use a green screen effect, this is a great way to replace the background with something interesting. So now I'm going to go in to the editor and do some more tips and tricks to show you some cool things. So we're going to go ahead and open up a project that I previously made. So this is what an example of what you can create when you want to add some media and captions and transitions, what it can look like. So just like I showed you earlier, creating something like this is very simple. You would just use the stock media to add some of the clips that are found here. Then you would go to the transitions tab to add some transitions in between these clips, as you can see here, these sections right here. And up at the top, these are captions that I added from the text tab. So for example, this one, I used this one right here, big bold message, and I just dragged it into my timeline, and then I modified the text so that it says this is Now another cool aspect of our motion titles is some of them you can use as a title slide. So for example, this one is a pre-made title slide that you don't have to create any animations for. It's just ready to go. And it's a really popular one if you want to just do an introductory title. So next up, what I'm going to cover is going deeper and diving into what you can do with the different layering. So when it comes to creating a video, you have to keep in mind that how you place an object in the layer is how it's going to be shown on the screen. So I'll dive deeper into that after this example. So as you can see, there's a lot going on over here, but really it's a simple technique known as layering, where essentially how you place your objects is going to determine what's shown in front. So for example, in this case right here, at this point in the video, it might appear to just be two different layers with the background and then this over here, but what's actually going on is we have 4 individual layers, all on their own. When you double click into it, you'll notice that it's actually just an enlarged video that's like this. But what I did was I changed the scale. So this is how it originally looks. It's just a video that takes up the whole screen. But what I did was I changed the scale and then I repositioned it. And I did that to each of the 4 clips over here. So all 3 of these are their own layers. So really what we're seeing here is 4 individual layers, but each of these is repositioned and rescaled so that it appears to just be one layer on top of another. So this effect is known as picture-in-picture, and you can add multiple layers to apply the picture-in-picture effect by selecting the plus icon, and then here you can add a video track. And you can also retitle it so that you can customize each of the tracks based on, for example, you can have a captions track, a green screen track, so it really just depends on what you want to title it, but each of these tracks is going to determine what's going to be shown. So just to keep in mind, whatever you put on top is what's going to be visible in front. So essentially, because this clip is at the very top, it's going to be shown at the very front. So if I were to double click into it and change the scale, you'll see how it's going to go in front of everything else. Whereas if I were to do the same thing with, for example, this clip, when I change the scale, I'll start it over here. So when I change the scale, you'll see that it's actually behind that clip. So depending on how you place it in the layering will determine where it is. So think of it as whichever's on top is what's going to be in front. Now over here, what was going on, the opacity, I don't know if you caught it, this is how you can modify transparency. So as you can see, the transparency is going back and forth between the ocean shot and the mountain shot. So what we have going on here is that, here I'll change this too, you can modify the timeline size and preview size by dragging it over here. So what I did here is I have the mountain shot at the bottom and the ocean shot at the top. So when you click on a clip, this part is 0% opacity, which means that it's going to be fully transparent and we are going to see the video track underneath. So at this point in the video clip, we only see the mountains because the opacity of the ocean is 0%. Whereas over here, when the opacity of the ocean is 100%, you'll see that you only see the ocean because it's the track in the layer above, which is covering the mountains. So if I were to double click into it and change the scale, you would see that the mountains are behind it. So this is an interesting way of using layering to kind of modify opacity and transparency to really take picture-in-picture a step further. So now that we see what it's like at 0% and 100% opacity, let's bring it down to the middle portion. So here, for example, this is 23%. You can see that you can barely see the ocean, but you also see the mountain. So I'll play it one more time, and as the video plays, follow along the green line from 0% to 100 and in between, and you'll notice how the transparency changes. So when it comes to layering, the main effects you can create are picture-in-picture and modifying the opacity to appear like it's transparent. I'm going to quickly go back here. Are there any questions so far about just adding media and captions or modifying opacity or layering? All right, great. I'm going to move on then. So next up is a really easy, quick effect that is very popular among students and teachers, and it's the green screen effect. And that can look a little something like this. So applying the green screen effect is actually very fast. All you need to do is a few things. So number one, you want to have a green screen clip. So I have one in my media tab, so I'll use that as an example. And because I have an astronaut, let's use the space clip. So when you have a green screen clip, you want to make sure that the green screen is in the layer above and the image you want replacing the green is below. So when I click play, you'll notice that the astronaut is just floating in green because I haven't applied the green screen effect yet. But when you double click into the green screen effect, into the green screen clip, you can click on this fifth tab right here, which is the color keying tab. And when you click on the dropper and then click on the green, this is what instantly appears. You just see that the green is replaced with the layer underneath. So once you save that, then you'll see here, and I'll show you just so you can watch. So the green portion will be visible here, but here it'll be replaced with what's underneath. So green screen is really quick and easy. I'm gonna go ahead and go in there one more time just to show you how to do it. So first you get the green screen clip, make sure it's in the layer above, then you get the clip you want to replace the green screen with, put it underneath, and that can be either a picture or a video. Either one will work. Then you double click the green screen clip, click on the dropper tool, click on the green, and you have the green screen effect. Very quick and very popular. So that one's a really fun one. And next up, what we're going to cover is going to be animations. So the animation is called Ken Burns, and there's two ways that you can use that. So I'm going to show you both ways. So as you can see, the video is slowly zooming in. That's one way. Another way is the rolling credits effect. So basically what we have going on here with the Ken Burns animation is we double clicked into the video to open up its clip properties. And all we're doing is picking a start point and then picking an end point. So when you do a start and the end, basically... Sorry, do we have a question? Does anybody have a question? Can I help with anything? Alright, you can either ask, you can unmute, or you can ask in the chat box. I'm happy to answer any questions. Alright, then I'll just continue then. And feel free to stop me at any time if you do have any questions. So with the Ken Burns animation, like I said, you just choose a starting point and then the ending point, and then it'll transition between. So just on a fresh clip, what that would look like. Let's say we choose this video right here from the Essentials library. We'll add it in, double click it, and we'll choose the starting point. Let's say we want the starting point to be the upper left portion, and the ending point to be the bottom right portion. So it doesn't have to necessarily be zooming out and zooming in. It can be panning from across the image or video. And that would look something like that, how it's panning across. So with the Ken Burns animation, it's just essentially picking point A and point B and then transitioning from A to B. And it's just a smooth effect. So if you're putting together a slideshow, there's a way where you can do the Ken Burns animation on multiple clips at once. So it's a really easy way to add a nice effect to a slideshow. If you're just showing a lot of images instead of showing just still images, you can do the Ken Burns animation so that each image is almost made lively. Now this part to use the Ken Burns animation to basically make it appear that you have the rolling credits. So what we'll do is I'll use image from my media tab. We'll go with this one. And I'm going to go to the text tab. In the text tab, the static folder has a title called End Credits. So if you use that, right off the bat, there are no effects on it. So this is what it looks like. It's just standing there. But what you can do is apply the Ken Burns animation to the caption. So let's double click into the caption, choose the starting point to be down here, and the ending point to be up here. And then this is what it looks like. So it's the rolling credits effect. So really it's a static caption, but you're applying the Ken Burns animation to the caption, and that's how it applies the rolling credits effect. So to sum it up with the Ken Burns animation, you can either animate a frame or an object like a caption. So you can also apply the Ken Burns animation to an image. Let's say if you want to have an image of a rocket ship, you can move it across the screen. So it's just a way to add animation. And last but not least, I'm going to cover how to use some of our capturing tools. So in the My Media tab, you'll notice these two icons over here, record and narrate. When you click record, you have three options to either do a webcam, screen, or both recording. So for example, with the webcam recording, you would just select the camera you want, the microphone, and start recording. Whereas with the screen recording, it would be just showing the screen. So you would choose your microphone and then pick either one screen, another screen, or a specific window or a tab. So that's what that would be. And then with the screen and webcam recording, it would simultaneously record both. So for example, a common effect is people will do a webcam recording of themselves and a screen recording, and we'll have the screen recording be the main background. Then they'll use the picture-in-picture effect to change the scale of the webcam recording and put it in the top right corner. It's really common, for example, for video games. If somebody's doing a video game tutorial, they'll have a webcam recording of themselves at the top right, and the screen recording will be the main background. And of course, you can also use that for in-class lectures if you want to have your webcam recording as you are talking, but then you also want to show something on the screen. So it's a helpful way to do lectures as well. And the narrate icon is to do voiceovers. So if you want to do a voice recording or add commentary captions to a video, this is what you would do. You would click the narrate icon, and then it would just save directly into your media tab. And just like you can add multiple video layers, you can also add multiple audio layers. So you can have as many as you want. When you're done with the video, you will simply select finish. And a cool little secret is that what you can do is select audio only, and it'll convert any video into a podcast. So if you want to do podcasting, then you can use our tool to have as many audio layers as you want, use sound effects, use music, commentary, and then do audio only, and it'll export as an MP3 file so you can do podcasting. And here's where you can choose the resolution and different destinations for where it's going to be exported, such as Google Drive or directly into YouTube or Vimeo. And then when you click export and it's done processing, then it'll be found in your exports tab right over here. And that's basically it. That's a lot to help you get started. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've covered, or is there anything in particular you would like to see? Feel free to unmute yourself if you do have any questions. Or you can just put it in the chat box if there's anything you'd like to see. Let's see, should everyone have the templates tab? So, hi Andrea, in terms of the templates tab, it really just depends on the permission settings that your admin set. So for example, if you have it so that you can have it, then it would be there. But let's see, is it possible to get a recording of this session? I believe so. I can, I'll contact Sandra and Jeremy in this chat. They'll know, but I have been recording this, so what I can do is send it out to you possibly. Let's see, the best way to get that would probably be, let's see, there you go. Yeah, Jeremy will put in the creator community. Perfect. Thank you, Crystal. Sandra, Jeremy, did you have anything you wanted to add before we finish up?
No, I'll go ahead and close up as soon as you're done.
Okay, great. Well, I'm all finished up here. So if anybody has any questions, you can always contact us at support@wevideo.com. I handle a lot of those tickets, so I would be able to help you out personally if you need it. But other than that, I hope you found this useful. And if you have any additional questions, just feel free to reach out. Stay safe and have a nice day.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Yes, this session was recorded, and it will be posted in our creator community, as well as I'll be sharing it with Google for Education, and you can get you'll be able to view the recordings there as well. But thank you so much, and we have more coming up in the next couple weeks, so look forward to it, and thanks everyone for joining.
Bye, guys.
We hope this was enough tips and tricks to help you get started with creating content with WeVideo. Please feel free to reach out to our support team at support@wevideo.com if you have any questions. Now you can start creating today.